My dear students, I welcome all of you for today's session. And today's session is on asymptotic notations. So, what actually an asymptotic notation means? Okay. So, here in this session, we are going to study about the behavior of an algorithm. I mean, you are given some problem, you have designed an algorithm. Okay. Now you will run that algorithm with some input size n. Your algorithm is going to take some time, and let the time be is a function of a function of n. Okay, I mean the time taken by your algorithm might be a linear function or a quadratic function, cubic, factorial, exponential, whatever it be. Now suppose if I double the size of the input and run, how much time extra it is going to take when compared to the previous run? Got it? So this is about asymptotic notations of an algorithm. Got it? What actually an asymptotic means? The behavior of an algorithm. I means the extra time an algorithm is going to consume when it is run with the size which is double the size of previous run. Got it? Clear with this? So we are going to study about the behavior of an algorithm. That amount of time increases on doubling the size of the input when compared to previous run. Now coming to content of the session, okay. So just now I said what is an asymptotic notation, right? There are three notations we are going to discuss. One we call big O notation, the second we call big omega notation, and the third we call a big theta notation. Okay, these notations will describe the efficiency of an algorithm. I mean, the behavior of an algorithm. Got it? Uh, we'll see in detail all these three notations. Okay, and before proceeding with this session, okay, I want you to recapture the one of the topic of previous session what we have discussed with respect to time efficiency. That is step count and operation count. Okay, because this is the core of this session. So also we have solved some problems on step count. I remember all of you remember that. I think everyone remember that, right? So now just we will look once again. Okay, no, no. Okay. Let me say. Yeah. So now consider there is an algorithm to determine the sum of all array elements. Okay. Now, I said the time it's going to take, I'm not going in computing time efficiency. What I said in previous session, I won't consider real time because the real time that is going to take by an algorithm may vary from one machine to other machine because of the changes in the processor speed in all other machines. Okay. So what I said, for computing time efficiency, we are going to have an independent metric that is either step count or an operation count. I think all of you remember that. So now for this algorithm, see here, the first statement is an assignment, right? That is sum equal to 0, that is one step, and it is going to exit only one time, so is shown as 1. Whereas the first statement, okay, for I equals 1 to n, I said in the last session, okay, you need to go through last session if you won't remember. It's going to exit n plus 1 times. N for I equals 1 to n, and the plus 1 time is that when I becomes greater than n, false condition. And that expression sum equals sum plus fi is going to exit n times. And the return statement is going to exit 1 time. So totally when I consider step count, the total number of steps, frequency of each step is added, and it's going to be 2n plus 3 in this case. Now, what we need to observe that because step rather than considering step count, we are going for something known as operation count. Now, what actually the operation count means, let me tell you. What is an objective of this problem? The algorithm to compute the sum of all array elements. So the main operation here is what? Addition. Got it? is a basic operation of this algorithm. Got it? So means rather than determining each and every step, okay, we are going to determine that particular step which is most time consuming. Got it? We are going to identify that particular step in algorithm which executes frequently, and that step we call a basic operation. And you know that here in this algorithm, sum equals sum plus a of y is going to execute very frequently, that is n times. Got it? So here I am going to, in case of operation count, only I am considering the most frequently executing operations. Okay, that operation we call basic operation, and I need to determine number of times that basic operation is going to execute. And that is nothing but an operation count. Got it? Operation count, I repeat, is nothing but number of times the basic operation of an algorithm will be executed. Got it? So it's what actually the operation count is same. Got it? Clear? I think now you're clear with the step count and operation count. And in my all further sessions and future, okay, we are dealing only with operation count, not the step count. I mean, you need to identify for any algorithm when you need to analyze the efficiency, determine the efficiency of an algorithm. Okay, you need to identify what is that basic operation that algorithm, and how many times that basic operation is going to execute, and you need to tell me the count of that basic operation. Clear? So now we'll come back. Asymptotic notations and basic efficiency classes. So what I said in asymptotic notation, I said, okay, I mean, just now what I said, asymptotic means it's a behavior of an algorithm. Behavior of an algorithm mean, now I will run an algorithm with some n. It takes some time. Got it? I mean, some time, to be more precise, some count of the basic operation. Okay, some when I run an algorithm with some n, let C of n be the count of basic operation. Now, if I double the size, okay, and if I rerun that algorithm, what is, how many times the basic operation now it's going to execute? Got it? I mean to say, now I need to determine number of times the basic operation count is going to be executed on doubling the size of previous run. I mean to say, to be more precise, I mean by what amount the basic operation count will be increased. By what amount the basic operation count will be increased when I double the size of the input compared to previous run. By what amount the basic operation count gets increased is nothing but what order of growth. I mean, okay, it's nothing but what we call order of growth of algorithms basic operation count. Because basic operation count is going to be increased, right, on for each size when I double. Clear? So the efficiency of an algorithm is determined by order of growth of algorithms basic operation count. Means whether the order of growth, what I'm going to should I call it's a linear, is it an quadratic, is it a cubic, is it an exponential, it's a factorial. Got it? So clear, I think very clear, right? So efficiency of an algorithm, how we are going to determine by the order of growth of the algorithm's basic operation count. I mean, when I double the size, by what amount the basic operation count is going to grow. Yeah. So there are three notations: big O, big omega, and big theta. We will have in detail about we have detailed discussion about this topics. Okay. So now let me say big O notation. First, I will tell you informally what is big O. Then I'll tell you formal definition. So set. I think set, right? Set of or set is nothing but what? Collection of some elements. Clear? So now I want to tell set with respect to asymptotic notations. Okay. So let me say for all algorithm there is some input. Okay. In general, when I consider sorting problems, the n is the size of that input. Got a number of elements. Got it? So now let me tell you, in case of matrix, there will be two inputs, m and n, the order of matrix. Clear? Whatever it be. So in let me say, set is nothing but collection of elements. Okay. Now if I say if all those elements are some functions, got it? So what actually? Let me say, we know quadratic function. You have heard about quadratic function. You have heard about cubic function, factorial, exponential, right? These are all some functions. I'll group some functions in a set. Okay. Let me say in my function. Let me say in my function there are two functions. Okay, linear and quadratic. Linear and quadratic. Now, if you are given, we know linear's growth rate is smaller than quadratic, and we know logarithmic growth rate is smaller than linear. Got it? So now, let me say, in my function, what I said, there are functions. There are linear and quadratic. Okay. Now, I have given some other function. Okay. Let me say logarithmic, and one more function, exponential. Now I need to tell me whether my logarithmic function exists in that set, which includes linear and quadratic. Okay, I need to tell whether my function exponential exists in that set, which contains linear and quadratic. Okay, got it. So now I repeat, don't get confused. So big O of g of n. G of n is some function. It may be, assume g of n, at present assume it's a quadratic. Okay, now what is big O of g of n informally is a set of all functions with smaller or same order of growth. Okay, if suppose if I say g of n to be quadratic, then the functions whose order of growth is less than that quadratic or equal to quadratic is nothing but some other function which are quadratic, linear, logarithmic, and log n. Okay, so I mean big O of g of n is nothing but set of all those functions with a smaller same order of growth as g of n. If you're not clear, let me tell you the example. So now, see here, in example one, I'm saying that the function n, yeah, it's a function. Okay, n belongs to big O of n square. Is it true? Yeah, of course true, because big O of n square, right? What is n square? It's a quadratic. And now I need to tell whether this n belongs to big O of quadratic. Of course, because big O of quadratic, I said what actually big O of quadratic means, set up all those functions whose growth rate is smaller than or equal to quadratic, and n is linear, it's less than quadratic. Of course, this belongs to big O of n square. And so I will look at second example, 100 and plus 5. What type of function is 100 and plus 5? Linear. Got it? It's a linear. And now I'm asking you whether this 100 and plus 5 belongs to big O of n square. Of course, because big O of n square is a set of all functions with growth rate less than or equal to quadratic. And LHS, we have 100 and plus 5 is a linear. Clear? So similar, third example, of n in 10 minus 1. Of n in 10 minus 1, what is that? Of n square minus of n is nothing but quadratic. Same as n square. So of n in 10 minus 1, of course, belongs to big O of n square. Similar. Now look at example 4, okay? What I am asking, n cube doesn't belong to big O of n square. Why? Because big O of n square is a set of all functions whose growth rate is less than or equal to quadratic. But at the LHS, we have n cube. It's a cubic. Cubic growth rate is greater than quadratic. So cubic does not belong to big O of n square. Clear? So now I think you people have got it. So in general, what actually big O of g of n is a set of all functions. Big O of g of n is a set of all functions with a smaller or same order of growth as g of n. Now, formal definition. Now, formal definition. You are given two functions. One is t of n, okay, and you are given the other function g of n. Clear? Now you need to tell me whether this function t of n belongs to big O of g of n. So we know if I want to say T of n belongs to big O of G of n, then T of n should growth rate should be what? Less than or equal to G big O G of n growth rate. Clear? I mean, we need to determine in this definitions here, a function T of n is said to be in big O of G of n. Denoted T of n belongs to big O of G of n. If there exists some positive constant C and some non-negative integer and not such that T of n should be less than or equal to says the growth rate of T of n is lower or equal to growth rate of RHS, that is C into G of n. Got it? Now, clear with this? Suppose now if I plot a graph for this T of n and G of n, what we need to observe? The graph of T of n should lie below the graph of G of n. Clear? So just we all look at this. So yeah, see here, I have plotted a graph, okay, for T of n and G of n. Got it? So you see here, because T of n belongs to big O of G of n, right? So I mean to say T of n's growth rate should be less than or equal to growth rate of G of n. So you just observe in graph T of n, the curve for T of n lies below the G of n. And I have shown on dotted lines, right? Before that, I'm not going to consider. I need to identify that C and N naught. After N naught, the condition T of n should be less than or equal to C of G of n, C into G of n. Okay, we'll have a look at some example. Okay, we need to identify that C and N. So I will just take one example, just two more examples, you analyze yourself. Okay. The first example, what it says, check whether the statement 100 n plus 5 belongs to big O of n. Now, as per the concept of big O of notation, what I told you, okay, I can say some function, say T of n, belongs to big O of G of n. If T of n's growth rate is lesser or equal to growth rate of G of n. And here, just see here, in LHS 100 n plus 5, what is that? It's a linear. Got it? And what is G of n in this case? It's just an n, even it's a linear. Means LHS is a linear whose growth rate is same as a lesser or equal to growth rate of n, right? So it belongs. We know it belongs. But the point here is that I need to determine what is that C and N naught. Okay. What is that C and N naught is a non-negative integer. Now by analyzing, okay, just go through that 100 n plus 5 less than or equal to 100 n because LHS should be less than or equal, I want, right? Okay, now let me say for finding that C and N naught, I'll assume 100 n plus 5 less than or equal to what? 100 n plus 5n for all n greater than or equal to. Okay. Is it 100 n plus 5 is less than or equal to 100 n plus 5 for all n greater than or equal to 1? It's true. So 100 n plus 5 less than or equal to 105 n for all n greater than or equal to 1 is true. Then now, what I can say, C is nothing but 105 and N naught is nothing but 1. Got it? So you have asked whether 100 n plus 5 belongs to big O of n. Yes, of course, you need to determine that C, in this case, N naught 5 and N naught. Okay, what is the starting? Yeah. Why I say starting value? For example, if I say N naught equal to 0, if I give, then this condition fails 100 and plus 5. 100 and plus 5 is nothing but 5. It's not less than or equal to 105 into 0, right? Yeah. So now we'll just do other examples, just go through. Okay, it's but only thing you need to determine C and N naught. Okay, so that LHS will become less than or equal to C into G of n. Now coming to big omega. Okay, what is big omega? One more thing. Okay, I need to tell about big O. It gives an upper bound. Okay, upper bound for any algorithm means time efficiency of any algorithms upper bound. beyond which the tank can't extend. Got it? Big O is nothing but, remember, upper bound. Now big omega. Big omega, informally, let me tell you. Again, okay. Now let me assume we have some functions, linear, quadratic, cubic. Okay, assume we have function linear, or just assume we have function, just two functions, cubic and quadratic, and cubic. Okay. Now if you have asked any other function whether that function belongs to omega or cubic and quadratic. Okay, so I can tell only I can say the function belongs to let me take it. I have, in a function there are two in a set. Okay, sorry, in a set there are two functions. In a set there are two functions, quadratic, cubic. Okay, now okay, and now what about this? Suppose if I say a g of n to be linear. Okay, now my question is that what actually linear, big omega of a linear means? Big omega of linear is set of all those functions whose growth rate is greater than or equal to linear. Got it? Got it? Big omega of linear. Big omega of linear means set of all those functions whose growth rate greater than or equal to linear. I mean, in big omega of linear, you can find linear also because its growth rate is same. You can find cubic because growth rate is greater than linear. You can find quadratic, growth rate is greater than linear. You can find exponential factor because the growth rate is greater than or equal to linear. But you can't find logarithmic because logarithmic growth rate is lesser than linear. Also, you can't find, okay, clear with this. So got it. So what actually big omega of linear means? Set of all those functions whose growth rate greater than or equal to linear. Okay, got it. So I mean to say, you are given, let me say, you are given two functions, okay, na? T of n and g of n. Now you will be asked whether T of n belongs to big omega of g of n. You are asked whether check whether T of n belongs to big omega of g of n. Now what you need to do, you need to look at the growth rate of T of n and g of n. If T of n's growth rate is greater than or equal to growth rate of g of n, then only T of n belongs to big omega of g of n. Clear with this? So now look at example. First example, n cube. Check whether n cube belongs to big omega of n square. Of course, big omega of n square means what? Set of all those functions whose growth rate greater than or equal to quadratic. Right? So in LHS is a cubic. Cubic growth rate is greater than quadratic. Of course, it belongs to big omega of n square. Clear? Now look at the second example. Half n into n minus 1. That's what? Half n square minus half n. It's nothing but quadratic. And of course, it belongs to big omega of n square because the half n into n minus 1 is quadratic, whose growth rate is same as n square's growth rate. And what about, look at the third example, 100 n plus 5. What is that? Linear. It doesn't belong to big omega of n square because linear's growth rate is smaller than quadratic. Got it? I mean, now I think you're clear with this. Suppose you are given some function g of n, and what are those functions which exist in big omega of g of n? You are given one function g of n, okay? And what are those functions which exist in set big omega of g of n? All those functions whose growth rate are greater than or equal to g of n. Okay. Similarly, formal definition, what it says in a function t of n. Okay. If I want to say it belongs to big omega of g of n, what I need to determine c and some n naught. Okay. So that t of n's growth rate should be greater than or equal to c into g of n. Okay. Now let me plot a graph for this t of n and g of n. What you will say? I said that T of n, we know T of n's growth rate is greater than or equal to G of n, right? So the curve for T of n lies above the curve of G of n. Let me look at the graph. Got it? Clear with this? So once again, remember, see, you are given one function T of n, you are given other function G of n. Now I am asking you, check whether T of n belongs to big omega of G of n. If I want to tell T of n belongs to big omega of G of n, T of n's growth rate should be what? Greater than or equal to G of n's growth rate. Got it? So here what I say, big omega, what I can say, it acts as a lower bound. It acts as a lower bound. I said big O acts as an upper bound, big omega acts as a lower bound. Now let me see some examples for formal definition. Check whether the statement n cube belongs to big omega of n square. Of course, we know n cube belongs to big omega of n square because n cube's growth rate is cubic, which is greater than or equal to the growth rate of n square. But here I need to determine what is that C and n naught. And of course, in this example, it gets satisfied for C equal to 1 and n naught equal to 0. Okay. Similarly, I will look at second example. Check whether statement 3n plus 2 belong to big omega of n. Of course, 3n plus 2, it's a linear. 3n plus 2, it's a linear. And its growth rate is equal to n. Is it? So it belongs. Okay. You just need to determine what is the C and n naught. Okay. Have a look at the third example. Here, in LHS, we have a function exponential. Got it? Because 6 into 2 power n plus n square. Here, what type of function is this? It's an exponential. It's not quadratic because exponential is having higher growth rate. Okay. So I mean to say, let me assume you are given one function. Okay, n cube plus n square minus 1. So what do you call this function? Will call it's a cubic or quadratic? You're going to call it a cubic, right? Because n cube is there's the highest power is 3. Similarly, now in this case, in LHS, 6 into 2 power n plus n square, 2 power n is the exponential. Growth rate is larger one. So LHS, it's an exponential, whereas in you have asked to check whether this exponential function belongs to big omega of linear. Whether it belongs, of course it belongs, because what I said, if I want a big omega of linear, is nothing but all functions whose growth rate is greater than or equal to linear's growth rate. Clear? So now I will look at the third notation, big theta. So what is big theta means? This here, let me, what I said about big O. Big O is an upper bound. Big O is an upper bound. Means you are given two functions T of n and G of n. You are asked to check whether T of n belongs to big O of G of n. If I want to say T of n belongs to big O of G of n, T of n's growth rate should be what? Lesser than or equal to growth rate of G of n. Suppose if you are asked whether T of n belongs to big omega of G of n, so what you need to identify? Growth rate of Tn should be greater than or equal to growth rate of G of n. In order to call T of n belongs to big omega G of n. Now, what is big theta? Big theta means you are given two functions T of n and G of n. Okay, if these two functions growth rate are one and the same, got it? So one and the same. If the growth rate of T of n and the growth rate of G of n are one and the same, then only we are going to call T of n belongs to big theta of G of n. Got it? So big theta of G of n, what actually big theta of G of n? Set of all those functions whose growth rate is same as G of n. Okay, clear? So informally, big theta of g of n is set of all functions whose growth rate is same as g of n. Just have a look at example 3n plus 2. What is the growth rate? Linear. Whether it belongs to big theta of linear? Of course it belongs, because growth rate is same. Have a look at second example. 10n square plus 4n plus 2. What is the growth rate? Linear. Well, it belongs to big theta of n square. Sorry. And 10n square plus 4n plus 2. What is growth rate? Quadratic. Okay. Quadratic. 10n square plus 4n plus 2 is quadratic. Whether it belongs to big theta of n square? Of course it belongs, because growth rate is same. Have a look at the third example. 3n plus 3. What is growth rate? Linear. Whether this linear belongs to big theta of n square? No, because the growth rate is different. In LHS, it's a linear, or big theta of n square, it's a quadratic. The growth rate mismatch. So it doesn't belong. So I think you are very clear, right? What about big O? Big O means big O as an upper bound, big omega it's a lower bound, big theta a same as. Okay, means it gives both lower bound and upper bound. Means now what I need, you are given on function t of n. Okay, and the meantime you are given on function g of n. Okay, will be asked whether this t of n belongs to big theta of g of n. You need to determine two values, c1 and c2, with some same and not. Okay. Now we need to plot three curves. One is c2 into g of n, c1 and g of n, and the third one is for graph of t of n. We need to identify this t. We need to get this curve for t of n between these two. Okay, clear? I mean, let me show you in this graph. Okay, see here. In this graph, I have given function t of n, and I have asked to check whether that belongs to big theta of g of n. Okay, I said t of n belongs to big theta of g of n if t of n's growth rate is same as growth rate of g of n. Okay, it's the growth rate of g of n. So I mean g of n acts both lower bound and upper bound for g of n. Okay, clear? Clear with this? So I need to determine. So I need to determine what is that C1 and C2. Yeah. So now I will look at some example. Okay. First, let me have a look at second example. Check whether statement 3n plus 2 belongs to big theta of n. So you are very clear. It's very answer is very simple, right? 3n plus 2 is linear. Big theta of n is also linear. Growth rate is same. So we know it belongs. It belongs 3n plus 2 belongs to big theta of n is true. But what you need to identify? You need to identify C1, C2, and n. Okay. Solving by trial and error analyzing. Okay. I will find C2 equals 3, C1 equals 5, and n0 equals 1. So that 3n less than or equal to 3n plus 2 less than or equal to 5n. Got it? For all n greater than or equal to 1. Clear? And should I repeat? See here, you ask 3 and check whether 3n plus 2 belongs to big theta of n. Okay. You got familiar, right? Both the growth rate are same, that is linear, of course they belong. But what you need to identify? You need to identify what is the C1, C2. Got it? So that C1 n less than or equal to 3n plus 2 less than or equal to C2n I should get. And for what value? Starting value of n0. Okay. Now, I will look at the first example. Check whether the statement of n into n minus 1 belongs to big theta of n square. Now, what do you say about this? LHS growth rate of n into n minus 1 is nothing but of n square minus of n. It's a quadratic. And what about big theta of n square? Even it's a quadratic. Growth rate is same. So growth rate of same is, of course, of n into n minus 1 belongs to big theta n square. But what I need to determine, what is the C1, C2 and N0? Okay, these are some steps I need to follow. On solving these steps, what I'll by trial and error, okay, I will find C2 to be 1 by 4, C1 to be 1 by 2, and N0 is 2. So that of n square is less than or equal to, sorry, 1 by 4 n square less than or equal to of n into n minus 1 less than or equal to of n square. Clear with this? So this is about big theta notation. Okay. So let me repeat. Asymptotic notation means here we are studying the behavior of an algorithm. Summary of the session. Asymptotic notation means study of behavior of an algorithm. When I double the size of an input, by what amount basic operation count is going to grow compared to previous run. Got it? So, but no, there are three notations for this: big O, big omega, big theta. What is big O? It gives an upper bound for the basic operation count. What is big omega? It gives lower bound for the basic operation count. What is big theta? It gives the same bound for the basic operation count. Got it? I mean, both the big theta gives both lower bound and upper bound. Okay. So I think everyone got cleared with this session. Okay. So this is one of the very important topic, asymptotic notation. And I want to tell you, asymptotic notation is the base, okay, base for this subject, design and analysis of algorithms. Means for each and every problem, what the algorithm you are going to design, right? You need to represent your solutions growth rate in asymptotic notations. Okay, you need to tell me whether your algorithm's growth rate is big O of something, big omega of something, or big theta of something. So I request you go through this topic. Okay, go through this topic in depth. Clear? So let me wind up this session. Thank you for listening.